Welcome to Staff Works Explained. If you're here for the first time, please consider subscribing to this channel. You can also hit the notification bell so that when we upload a new video, you're notified. In this video, we'll be talking about Bomas International Convention Center, a conference facility that is being constructed in Nairobi, where we originally had the Bomas of Kenya. The question we're asking ourselves is where this facility, the Bomas International Convention Center, where it stands now in terms of construction. Construction of the Bomas International Convention Center or Complex, BICC, in Nairobi is visibly progressing towards its scheduled opening in early 2026. As of late February 2026, government officials and project supervisors reported that the facility is approaching 50%. It's between 40 and 50% complete, with work ongoing around the clock. Thousands of workers are engaged daily on the site. The government maintains that the center will be ready to host a major conference, including the France Africa Summit, which is scheduled to be held in Kenya, Nairobi, in May 2026, even though the final works are still not complete. The facility is located at the existing Bomas of Kenya site in Langata, previously a cultural tourism attraction featuring traditional homesteads and performances. The Bomas International Center project represents a transformation of this site into a modern meetings and exhibition hub. Why Kenya is building the convention center now? The government argues that the country needs a modern, larger conference facility to complete the global market for meetings, incentives, and conference as well as exhibition, which is MICE. Tourism. The existing Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi was completed over 50 years ago, and leadership believes it no longer meets the technical and capacity requirements for contemporary international events. President William Ruto has stated that the new center will replace KICC as the premier venue for high-level conferences, giving Kenya an edge in attracting global business and diplomatic meetings. Kenya promotes MICE tourism as an economic driver. Conferences and summits bring delegates who spend on hotels, transport, food, and related services, as well as successful events, which will enhance Nairobi's international profile. The government planning documents and statements suggest that the project is part of a broader vision to diversify tourism, offering beyond wildlife and beach tourism. Despite the existence of multiple venues ranging from hotels in Nairobi and other parts of the Kenya, these conference facilities, which include Kenyatta International Convention Center, the argument is that none of them match the capacity and the integrated design proposed for BICC. The government positions this as an infrastructure gap that needed to be filled for Kenya to host and manage larger global gathering. In terms of marketing positioning, the Bomas International Convention Complex is targeting large multilateral summits, continental political forums, global trade and investment expos, climate negotiations, high-level corporate conventions, among others, that typically attract between 3,000 and 10,000 delegates. At present, many of these events are going to regional competitors, such as Ethiopia. We have Kigali Convention Center, Cape Town International Convention Center, Suntown Convention Center, among others. And these facilities are built to modern international specification. Industry estimates from tourism and MICE sector bodies suggest Kenya may be losing several billions of shillings annually in foregoing delegates' spending, accommodation, logistics, and repeat business due to capacity and technical limitations at existing venues, losses that the government argues the new facility is designed to reverse. What does the project involve? What are the components? When completed, the Bomas International Complex will include a main convention hall capable of hosting several thousand delegates, multiple auditoria, meeting rooms, and breakout spaces totaling capacity of up to 11,000 participants. Modern facilities including audiovisual systems designed to meet international conference standards, exhibition spaces aimed at supporting trade shows and business exhibitions, ancillary infrastructure such as hotels, shopping malls, commercial zones meant to support delegate accommodation and services, a dedicated heritage zone intended to preserve and showcase Kenya culture in conjunction with conference tourism. Beyond the build itself, the government has announced accompanying infrastructure upgrades such as during the road connecting Bomas to the current area to improve access for visitors. Let's now talk about project timeline, time frame, pace, and the questions of deadline. Construction of Bomas Complex formally commenced in mid-2023 following cabinet approval as well as site handover. This followed several years of feasibility studies, redesign, procurement processes that delayed physical works but clarified the project scope and financing structure. From a project management perspective, this meant the project implementation phase started later than initially envisioned, immediately compressing the delivery schedule. The government has since set an early to mid-2026 completion target, closely tied to Kenya's commitment to host high-profile international events, most notably the France-Africa Summit, which will be held in May 2026. To meet this deadline, the project has adopted accelerated construction approach. Works are being executed in parallel rather than sequentially. Foundations, superstructure, and some building services installation progressing simultaneously across different zones of the site. Extended working hours and multiple shifts have been introduced, standard fast tracking technique used when timelines are politically or commercially immovable. The pace on the site has been visibly aggressive. Senior government officials have publicly stated that the project is advancing on schedule, citing high work performance numbers or high workforce performance, where we have large numbers of workers, continuous activities, among other things. From a technical standpoint, such progress is achievable, particularly for large reinforced concrete and steel structures, provided funding flows remain uninterrupted and design changes are kept to a minimum. However, accelerated delivery typically comes with trade-off. On realism, the deadline is possible but tight. Achieving substantial completion, meaning the facility can host events, is not the same as full completion. It is likely that the project strategy prioritizes core conferences hall, accessible utilities, and safety systems first, with non-critical elements such as landscaping, secondary commercial areas, interior finishes scheduled for later phases or completed after initial operations begin. This phased handover approach is common in mega projects facing fixed event deadlines. The success factors supporting the timeline include strong political backing, centralized decision making, and use of experienced contractor with capacity to mobilize large workforce quickly. In addition, the government's willingness to overlap design finalization with construction has reduced idle time, albeit at higher coordination risks. The risks, however, are significant. Fast-tracked projects are more exposed to common overruns, quality defects, and contractual disputes, especially where design details continue to evolve during construction. Any delays in payment, supply chain disruption for imported materials, or adverse auditing findings affecting financing arrangement could slow progress sharply. There is also the long-term risk that systems installed under time pressure may face higher maintenance costs if commissioning and testing periods are shortened. The project timelines reflect a politically driven deadline rather than conventional, conservatively planned construction program. Delivery by 2026 is feasible, but it relies on sustained funding, disciplined scope control, and acceptance that some components may be completed after the first major events are hosted. Let's look at cost, funding, and contractors. The estimated cost of this complex is around 31.5 billion Kenya shillings. Official statements indicate that funding arrangements include a mix of government allocation, public-private partnership mechanisms such as contribution from the tourism fund to support part of the project's financing. Public documents and media reports show that planning and contracting structures have been controversial. There's evidence of negotiations with international firms and at least one formal tender for the hospitality and commercial component. Formal confirmation of the main construction contractor varies across sources, but previous lists indicate involvement by foreign firms with legal disputes tied to tender awards, and this firm was from Turkey. Government communications have not widely published details on every contractor or precise selection criteria. Standard public procurement practice requires competitive tendering and legislative approval for large public works, but audit findings suggest that these rules were not followed consistently in this case. Let's look at controversies and as well as challenges that has been facing this project. From the onset, the project has generated public debate and controversy. A prominent dispute involved claims by a former senior official that the historic Bomas site has been sold to a foreign investor. The government countered these claims, affirming that the property remains a public asset and that modernization, not privatization, is the objective. Most recent scrutiny has focused on alleged procurement irregularities and breaches of law. The Office of the Auditor General reported that procurement approvals were issued after contracts had already been commenced, and commitments were made without proper approval from the National Assembly. And we are seeing this in several other projects which are going on in Kenya. Actions that could expose officials to sanctions and potentially delay payments or invite penalties. The audit also highlighted mismatches in financial arrangements, such as shift from a planned short-term payment schedule to a long-term deferred plan, raising questions about fiscal discipline and transparency. Separately, Parliamentary Committee has raised concerns about financial health of the existing Bomas of Kenya entity and governance that may affect long-term viability. What happens to the old Bomas of Kenya? The existing Bomas of Kenya Cultural Center will be incorporated into wider convention complex design. The modern facility intends to retain cultural elements through the heritage zones, while repurposing the overall site to function both as tourist destination and business tourism hub. Official sources and project documents indicate that cultural representations and legacy aspects will continue alongside the new infrastructure. What are the expected benefits from this facility? Government planners and economic analysts project several benefits from this complex, including increased conference tourism, attracting high-spending international delegates, creation of jobs during the construction operation phases, offering skills and income to local workers, competitive edge over regional convention hubs, as well as extra exhibition and commercial space intended to support local businesses and SMEs. If delivered on schedule and to specification, the center could elevate Nairobi's standing as a continental level destination for diplomacy, business, and international collaboration. In conclusion, we can say that the Bomas facility stands as one of Kenya's most ambitious infrastructure projects in the recent years. Progress on the ground shows rapid construction, but the project has also stirred controversy over governance, financing, and procurement compliance. Its justification is rooted in economic strategy, positioning Kenya to capture a large share of the global conference market and modernizing outdated facilities. Whether the long-term benefits will outweigh the financial and administrative challenges will depend on strict adherence to governance norms and successful integration into Kenya's broader tourism and economic ecosystem. So thank you for reaching this far. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to this channel. You can also watch other videos that were made on this facility and other projects in Kenya, East Africa, and Africa at large. Thank you.